Welcome to In Deep, a podcast by Laura Enover
and myself, Flick Parmentier. Join us as we dive deep into what it takes to break the mould and have the courage to step into the unknown.
Because we're all certain to get stuck in some deep shit along the way.
We're back. Only just.
Talk about a chaotic weekend.
What happened to you this morning, sis?
Well, what happened to me since last week, I tried to squeeze about 8,000 things into 1 week because I'm like, I'm back, let's go. What do I do? Just like literally squeeze in a swell trip to Fiji, straight into 2 days of work on the Gold Coast, straight into coming back here and doing the podcast today and then driving back to the Gold Coast. So I literally on Monday, I ping-ponged to the Gold Coast, picked up boards, back to Sydney, then Sydney to Fiji, Fiji back to Sydney. That same night, I missed that flight I was meant to take to the Gold Coast. So came home, slept for 3 hours, went back up the Gold Coast, did my work for 2 days and then got the 6 a.m. flight home this morning. And then I literally got home and
You have to play this voice recording. So Laura sends me a voice recording this morning.
I've well and truly cooked it. And I can't believe I'm sitting here. I'm a bit hot and sweaty and flustered, but
oh no, she's going to get me sick.
I can't believe my voice is actually like there's words coming out of my mouth. I think I had about 51 of those like throat lozenges.
Well, they've worked because...
They have. I just got diarrhea now.
Oh no.
I think they got like zinc and honey, vitamin C, and I think I've just overdosed in vitamins. This is me at 10 a.m. this morning and it's now 5 p.m. and we're recording.
Sis, this is so heavy, but this is my voice right now. I didn't actually realise it was so bad until I got home and started talking to Jake. I fucking lost my voice.
Anyway, it's way better.
Hey, you've come a long way. Since this morning.
I went and bought the expensive Manuka honey as well.
Hey, it's worked wonders because you've got some sort of a voice box.
Yeah, we're back. But anyway, I went to Fiji for that as well. I did 2 days there. I literally got there and did 2 days and I flew back and I had to be back to go up to the Australian Board Riders Battle at Burleigh Heads this weekend and do work. And then, so they had booked me that flight the night before, so I'd arrived the night before, but then I missed that flight.
Hang on, there's a bit of a trend happening here. What's happening this year?
That wasn't my fault.
Hang on, is that the second
My
flight?
Fiji Airways flight got delayed in Fiji.
Okay.
And because they weren't on the same booking, I was just trying to make it work, you know.
Okay.
It was already really pushing it. I think I had about 2 hours between international flight and a domestic flight. And then when I landed, I was like, oh, I've already missed it. So Jake came and picked me up, went home, slept for a few hours and then got on the 6 a.m. flight up to...
straight up to the Goldie.
And then went straight into like a women's breakfast at 8 a.m. I went straight from the airport, was like getting ready in the car while I was driving. I was like...
Oh, no. And how was the Gold Coast? How was the Board Riders Battle?
Oh, that event is like the best thing ever. It's like a 90s like world tour event. Or like when I feel like world tour events were fully in their prime, but just the bar, and they had this open bar at the top of the hill and there was like hundreds and hundreds of people there. The whole hill was packed and I think there's just such a different vibe about team surfing, like team sports. Like I think that's where the future of surfing I think is actually going.
It looked incredible.
I've
competed for a bunch of different board riders clubs. I've competed for Trig Point, I've competed for Yallingup, I've competed for Margaret River, and I've competed for Burleigh Heads. Get around, sis. Get around.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to put your submission into Northie, but already said you're going to have to do, if you want to get into Northie board riders, you're going to have to do about 20 hours of community service.
Yeah, free commentary.
Free commentary.
For the whole year, and then maybe we'll think about your registration.
Oh my gosh. Surfing's such an individual sport that whole element of it just brings out like this whole other fire, and it's such a pressure cooker. And dude, I always used to just crack under pressure.
What happened to Hog?
Oh my God.
Your team?
Yeah, Nathan Hoggy Hedge, our team leader. He's literally the poster child for, you know, these tag team events. He's got fire in his eyes. He forgot the rules and he got disqualified, and our team got disqualified.
I know.
Well, they lost 5 points or something. Oh,
do you know who won that heat?
Trig.
Yes!
How was your week, sis?
My week was good. Really, it's just a lot of exercise, a lot of routine, which is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I needed because I'm about to go away again for about a month and a half. With, 10 days here, 3 days back here, 10 days away, 3 days back, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I've just been enjoying the routine, and highlight of the week it's not a woo or it's not a boo, but it's just a highlight, was Kiara and I were walking through the shopping centre and we'd just done some food shopping, and all of a sudden we walked past this pet store and out the front it said like, dog sitters wanted.
Oh my gosh.
And I looked at Kiara and she looked at me and I was like, shall we?
She was like, that dog, that little pet store has got me so many times.
Hey,
that's where Ziggy was born.
He was born.
That's where Ziggy came from. Me and Jake went down there so hungover after our friend's wedding, and we just like walked into that shopping centre to get a kebab and then came home with a dog, and we had him for 3 nights. And, you know, I was even saying to you, I was like,
watch out.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be so hard to take those cuties back.
So we walk in there and we kind of agreed that we'd get one. Like, yeah, okay, we can do one. And then we walk in there and they go, well, we've got 2 left. They're like, well, can we have one? And they're like, can you take 2? And we're like, okay. Like, what's the difference? Let's go.
What do you call them?
So we had 2 and we're thinking of like iconic female duo names. We were like, okay, who are we going to do? Kiara came up with Venus and Serena Williams.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Mine was Venus and Kiara's was William.
Serena William.
Fucking hell. Mine was Venus and Kiara's was Serena. And honestly, we get home and it was like they were really timid the first night, right? Because there wasn't just one night of puppy sitting.
How many nights did you do this?
So the first night was great. We took them back here and they were really well behaved. Like we put out some little newspaper in the corner right there for them. They were like potty trained or whatever. They went on just only on the newspaper. They were really good. And then they like were great until about 2 a.m. And then at 2 a.m., they both decided to get the zoomies. And I was looking at Kiara and she was looking at me. I was like, fuck this, like crazy. And like, because there's 2 of them, they don't stop. Like one stops and the other one's like, and then the other one stops and the other one's like, so it was just like, anyway, only went on for an hour. It was an hour of zoomies from 2 to 3 a.m. And like all was forgiven. They went back to sleep and it was fine.
Did they sleep in the bed?
Yeah.
Cute. Cuddling?
So cute, yeah, pretty close. And then so we take them back the next morning and then they were just scared to go back. You could see it and it was breaking my heart. And I was like, Kiara, and I was like, we obviously can't get dogs. Like Kiara and I are both traveling. Like not one person is here to be stable. It's just like, no. But I was like, I just can't do it. And they were like freaking out, taking them back. And then we get home, we're like, I was going out that next night and Kiara looked at me and she goes, well, can we get the puppies? And before I could even answer, she goes, I don't even care. You're not going to be here, so I'm getting them. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, so we get these puppies back. We go pick them up at 4:30 in the arvo. We get back here. They're comfortable now. They know us.
Yeah.
Terrors. Psycho. Do not calm down. And I'm getting ready to go out. And I'm looking at Kiara, I'm like, good luck with that. And I'm like, don't worry, they're tiring themselves out. They're tiring themselves out.
No.
They are not tiring themselves out. So I go out for like 3 hours. She's sending me an update every 15 minutes like, these fucking puppies. Anyway, and after that, I got back later that night and I walked in and Kiara was like, oh my God, I just need a break. I couldn't even make food. I couldn't even cook dinner. Couldn't even go to the toilet. I now know what real mums feel like. And she was like, thank God you're here. And I was like, fucking hell. Wow. What happened while I was gone for those 3 hours?
Yeah, pretty much every time I got clucky for a kid, I just brought up the dog.
Yeah, shit. You got 2 of them now?
I got 2 dogs, my 2 kids. So what's your woos and boos of the week?
Woo is Chris Lilly's making a comeback. Drum roll.
What does that mean?
You don't know who Chris Lilly is?
Like that, the comedian?
Yeah. You know Summer Heights High, you know Angry Boys?
Yeah, I know all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what you're saying.
So
what do you
he's making
mean?
a comeback. So he started releasing some things on socials over the last sort of week, which pricked my ears and got my attention. And I was like,
you're a
whoa.
real big fan.
Yeah, no, I just think he's like, he really hits the mark on some things and I can't wait for him to come back. And so
he was fucking funny.
He's coming back with a podcast.
No way.
And I'm really interested to see what his take is, where it's going to go. So it's going to be super interesting because he can be very funny. And so that's the word because he's making this comeback and it's obviously blown up on socials.
Oh, really? I haven't even seen this. I guess I've been fucking underwater and Fiji.
Hey, yeah, mate, you've been here, there, everywhere.
Fucking rocks in my head.
Yeah, and then the boo is also sort of media, television related. the boo is that White Lotus is over. For anyone that's watching White Lotus, I'm not going to spoil absolutely anything, but I was getting great enjoyment out of that. Kiara and I both were.
You've been watching too much TV this week, sis.
Hey, that's what my goal was. I've been working hard and I deserve it. So
you have been.
Yeah, no, and the way they did it is they only released one weekly on a Monday or Sunday.
Heard it's amazing. I haven't watched any of it.
Oh my goodness, you got to get around it.
Not one season. I couldn't get into the first season, but apparently you need to like just hang in there the first couple of episodes and it gets better.
Yeah, hang in there. In my personal opinion, season 2 is the best.
Okay.
But I'm in love with these two characters so much, and the whole thing, everything, it all worked out in the end. I had my doubts in the beginning of season 3, but it got me.
Oh my God. Okay,
so
I'm going to have to get into it. I'm just like not allowed to watch TV shows because otherwise I'll have a bender.
Oh yeah, no, the problem with you is that, hey, I've watched the Game of Thrones with you and you like can't not get to the end, and it's like must get to the end, and so you're
the thing is I probably should have gotten onto White Lotus when it was releasing every Monday.
Yeah, so you couldn't.
So I couldn't do my just like fucking tweaker.
Yeah, you must get to end.
Must get to end now. Now I'm literally going to start White Lotus and not sleep for 4 days.
Yeah, you're welcome.
My woo of the week, I think, was just getting barreled at Cloud Break. That was awesome. And then the boo was also at Cloud Break. I had this like amazing big 6'5" board. That was like my biggest board I took over there, and I snapped it on the first wave.
You're kidding.
And so rattled. And so
how'd it happen?
So I don't know, a big wash through set came through, and I don't know, the fin boxes just got blown out of it. I think someone else's board hit it.
Oh, got
and it was
tangled
literally,
up a
I'd caught one wave on it. But then so that was nice. Then I was on my board, but it was way too small. So then Mark Ocalupo was there doing like a billabong trip.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you have a board I could borrow? Like, just so I could paddle better. And he was like, yeah, go get my 6'5". And so I went to the boat and I paddled back out on Ocky's board to Cloud Break.
That's so sick.
And I was like, wow, this is a fucking moment. This is so sick. Like I'm out pumping Cloud Break on Ocky. It was a bit of a boat for me. It was like I was on the fucking...
Kind of good though for paddle
kayak.
power. Yeah.
But and I got a couple waves and I got a couple visions on his board, but then this huge bomb set came through, like biggest wave of the day, caught us all out.
I saw that one photo that you posted, and is that Vaughn's?
That's Vaughan going under it, but me and Vaughan were like really close to each other. So I went under that wave and my leggy breaks. My leggy comes off Ocky's board, right?
Oh, good stuff.
And this was after I'd been out for like 4 or 5 hours that morning, and this is when I was getting gassed.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I should probably go have a, break soon. But I just was frothing. I was looking at these waves going like, just keep pushing through. And then my leg rope came off, and it was actually probably one of the scariest moments that I've had in a long time, just because I didn't really have inflation on. I didn't think it was going to be as big as it was over there. My leggy has broken. My arms felt like they were dead weights, and I was so deep down in the water, and I've been doing like, my breath hold is good, but I felt like I just couldn't get up. And I was swimming to the surface, and it was like my arms were like scissors just slicing through the water and not moving me. And I was like, get to the surface. Because I was so scared that the next one was like right there. And I just was so tanked that I was like, I don't know how I'd do it, the 2-wave hold down right now. So I made it just to the top, and I made it just before the next wave got up to me, and it smashed me again. And then I literally came up from that and I was like, Vaughan. Like, I just was like, Vaughan, help me.
Shit.
And he came and like helped me, and we swam out and it was fine. Like the waves all stopped, and I just was like, wow. It took everything of like every ounce of my strength to be like, just gotta make it through this. But then it was just heavy because I had to be like, hey, Ocky, your brand new board is like on the reef. It was like 200 metres across the dry reef.
And
low tide.
What condition was it in?
Oh, it actually was somehow fine, but I was freaking out. I was like, wow, you just borrowed Ocky's board and you've just sent it onto the reef. It's brand new.
Shit.
And then so we got like one of the Fijian guys that was with us. He was like, I've got this. And he walked across the reef. He probably had to walk like 200 metres. It had gone all the way over this reef. And then we got it back and it was like pretty sweet. But then, then I met up with Ocky. He's like, fuck, how is it? Anyway, it was fine.
Good.
Also, Flick, your episode has dropped today. The last episode has dropped today. Your episode about your divorce. How are you feeling? Because I woke up this morning and I was just, just thinking about you, I want to get you flowers. And even though I know you're going, I don't know, it's just a massive thing for you to put out in the world. And I knew you like last night going, oh, I'm scared. Like, this is scary.
First of all, I was obviously had a bit of like apprehension, like, oh God, you're sharing something pretty vulnerable here. And I do get very candid in that episode. Like, I just think I psychoanalyzed myself a lot. I like really picked myself apart, and like that's hard to do. And I'm glad I went where I did. And I'm really happy with that episode as well, because I feel that there was a lot of takeaways in there for people who might have been going through breakups or heartbreak or what to do. And like, if you're human, chances are that you're going to fall in love at some stage and go through something like that.
Yeah,
so I'm proud of that.
Loved and lost, hey?
Yeah, but then I'm actually just blown away with the listens. Speaking of new chapters in life, that sort of brings us to this episode, right?
Yeah.
And, we, in the last episode, asked you guys to send in questions about motherhood, anything relating to that, because this is a topic that we've wanted to cover in this season and sort of dive deep into that and what it means, obviously, to be a mother, but then to be an athlete and a mother and navigating that. There's been a lot of stories come out recently, I think, but one of the biggest takeaways for me, like, even if we just rewind a bit from when we started first surfing and we were athletes from a young age, I feel like the narrative's changed a lot over the years because it wasn't necessarily the same.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember a passing comment when I was in my 20s, and it was something that just stuck with me. And it was basically someone that worked at one of the companies that I was at that was just, I think it might have even been a woman as well, that said, oh, it's hard. Women just aren't as marketable when they're, after they've had a kid or if they're pregnant. It's like, how can you, like these companies just weren't really open to or willing to or didn't see a place for a pregnant woman or a mother in their marketing or in their campaigns, and it just wasn't celebrated. It wasn't on the runways. It wasn't in fashion really. It was just, it really was felt black and white, like before kids and after kids. It was so different.
Yeah, that's
and you had to fully fucking choose what you wanted. Yeah, what you wanted. And I always felt, like I would have kids after surfing. And that was just, because there was, and that's why it's been so amazing to see, Carissa Moore having a baby, and if she chooses to come back to surfing or not, that's, her choice. And then Joanne Defay competing pregnant. And then you just see these amazing stories of, people like Alison Felix, the track runner. She's one of the most decorated runners in the world. And she, came back from after having a child and won Olympic medals and broke world records. And then, Lisa Anderson, she was one in the surf world when we were growing up, and she won a world title after, having her little baby there. And I think it's just been in recent years where I just feel like, the narrative has changed and it has shifted, and mothers are getting uplifted and empowered, and they're getting sponsored. Like, it was such the norm for contracts to get cut.
Yeah.
Or they were cut. There was actually clauses in contracts to be like, or there weren't maternity leave things, or, anyone get dropped as soon as they were,
Well, I think that's one of my earliest memories is just seeing one of the, the most decorated women surfers, basically lose a contract after, falling pregnant. And for me, I was like, whoa. Okay, like that's big, because what's that send? Like, what kind of message does that send to the younger generation? What kind of message is that sending to me? I think, just you touched on her before about that Alison Felix, the track runner from the US. Like, even to expand on that story more, I feel like what it's taken in the last few years is, I mean, obviously you touched on Lisa Anderson, and this was, this was maybe 15 years ago now, but like it's taken strong women to stand up and be like, no, this is not okay. And that's a really scary thing to do whenever the whole narrative is going one way and you're being like, no, I don't agree with this, right?
Yeah.
And so basically this backstory behind Alison is that, she's exactly what you said, the most decorated, one of the most decorated sportswomen of all time, track and field. She was with Nike at the time and she fell pregnant, and then they were like, we don't have this maternity sort of clause in our contract, 70% pay cut.
So
and then
wild.
She, instead of accepting that,
literally the most decorated female athlete, and getting and falling pregnant and having a 70% pay cut while you're pregnant and on maternity leave.
She goes to the New York Times. There's a big write-up on it and absolutely blows up Nike. And then they go, oh, no, okay, we are going to change our, clauses. We are going to, support that. And she goes, you know what? Fuck you. And she goes and signs with Athleta. So she then says, fuck you to Nike. And then she goes and signs with a different brand. And then since then has started her own, footwear brand, shoes, running, and it's amazing.
Sash.
So,
yeah.
super, super inspiring story.
So inspiring. And there's this photo of her with all of her medals around her neck, and she's got the C-section scar down the bottom, and it's just such a powerful, powerful image. And like Serena Williams winning a Grand Slam, I think she might have been 2 months pregnant or something. It was freaking amazing. And then obviously coming back post-kid and winning again. And then, but I have this really cool, I found this quote that Alison had said, well, a quote from Alison. So I found this quote from Alison, and she said, whether it's a professional athlete or in a corporate world or whatever, I think it is really sometimes seen that you're going into this next chapter of life when you have a baby. And I just think that is a misconception. There's no reason that you can't have your best performances after becoming a mother or do your best work. Motherhood is something that takes you to the next level and gives you even more reason to go after whatever that goal is.
So powerful.
So cool.
She's just such an inspiration, right? I mean, just for absolutely saying a big F you and just backing herself and the whole, basically every woman on this planet. And then obviously it speaks to us as being female athletes big time. And, these big corporate companies too that didn't have anything in place. And she's changed the game completely.
Absolutely. And, even... it's so wild because I feel like I kind of flip-flop, being 33 now and married, and, I feel like, even during COVID I was thinking, do I just, is this the time? And then it's so hard to ever know the right time, and I feel like I have delayed in so many ways because I felt like I had to choose between surfing, big wave surfing, my career, and I had that fear, obviously, with that comment that I'd heard back in the day that, maybe I will lose all my sponsors. Maybe I do just need to work really hard now and wait till afterwards to have kids. And it wasn't until I saw, a couple of my friends, Kaylee Moniz and Frankie Harra have kids and then get back out there and go surfing. And I saw this photo of Frankie. I think her little daughter was maybe 7 or 8 months old, and she was breastfeeding her in the channel at Chopes.
And
she'd been surfing, getting barreled, like it was her first trip back as a mama, and then she's literally breastfeeding little Yara, and I was like, that is so amazing and powerful. And Justine DuPont now as well, one of the amazing, we spoke about her in one of the last episodes briefly.
Yeah, she came up in conversation.
Yeah, and she's gone back to big wave surfing, and she's got a little 1-year-old boy, and I think mum's strength is it's a strength, but it's, when you have that feeling to have to choose between and have those thoughts, it's a massive misconception, and even I find it hard to, I flip-flop between.
So just to touch on, the Olympics as well last year, I think there was 3 women that competed pregnant. 2 that come to my mind was Nadia Hafez in fencing, 7 months pregnant, and then Carissa Moore from surfing as well. Obviously,
and she announced that afterwards, so no one actually knew she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah, she was quite early on, and I remember she posted something to Instagram saying how she was actually quite nervous because she wasn't feeling much during the time that she was in Tahiti. Wow. And I remember that there's actually a post on her Instagram dedicated to, obviously the video was taken at the time, but never saw the light of the day, during that current time. But it was just an ultrasound. She wanted to make sure that the baby was okay and everything was all right.
I know, because Chopes is a gnarly wave, and, but it's so cool, like, seeing everyone participating in their sport. And I think I saw a stat as well that, 25% of, like, marathon runners, are mothers that have come back, and there's, like, you see so many amazing runners, like, in track and field running pregnant as well. And then here as well, Team Great Britain had 11 mothers on their rowing team in Paris 24 Olympics.
Inspirational is that?
How cool is that?
It's pretty cool, pretty powerful.
Strength.
Mum's strength.
It is a strength. I've been in one of Elodie's headlocks before, and she feels like she's going to snap your head off.
Should we bring in our producer, Kiki?
Apple juicer.
Apple juicer.
Apple juicer.
Are your ears clogged up too, sister?
They are.
They are.
I swear you just said, can we bring in the apple juicer? We'll bring in
our producer, Kiki.
Okay, so my first question actually is for you, Laura. So obviously I've known you from afar through Felicity since we were teenagers, but we haven't gotten really close until I've moved to Narrabeen. And I was curious as to whether you wanted to have children, but I didn't feel comfortable just coming straight out and asking that. I don't like when a woman gets married and the first question they get asked is,
when are you going to try?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I didn't want to be that person.
As well, even knowing from, what my friends have gone through with fertility issues. It's like you never know if someone is trying or not and like what they're going through behind closed doors. And it's actually,
100%.
it's a hard one to be, so many people just want to be, like I've had so many people since getting married say, when are the kids coming? And it's such a wild question to be thrown. And then, also it's a tricky one because, if someone was having fertility issues, then it's just
exactly for that. And I just don't think anybody needs the pressure. Like that's a conversation between you and your partner. But I did ask you that the other day. We were going for a walk and I asked you, if you don't mind sharing. So do you and Jake want to have children?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we talk about it a bit and he's always said, it's up to me when it's the right time. And he said, I'll support you whenever you want to have it or like have it. Whenever you want to fall pregnant or like whenever you feel like the time's right. It's your body, your choice. And, obviously it's our baby, but he's so supportive in that sense of just saying it's like totally up to like whenever you feel like it's the right time. I know he's so sweet like that. And, I feel like now more than ever, we're just saying more like little slight hints of, talking about one day when we have kids or, that when we have kids or like, even just talking about the bedrooms or like what if we wanted to get some renovations done to the rooms or like paint it or get new carpet for the kids or, just I'm talking about kids as well. Not even a kid. But
multiple.
We do definitely want to have kids or a kid. Whatever.
Do you feel any pressure now that you are married? Like, do you think there's been a shift since getting married? Do people ask you more? Do friends or family put pressure on you? Do strangers ask you more?
Or are you putting pressure on yourself?
Yeah. So like I said before, I kind of have been doing this flip-flopping thing where like I feel like especially since I've been injured the last 4 months I've had more time, I've been at home and just like really slowed down. And in those slower times I'm thinking, maybe this is the time. Like, I should go for it now and then I can come back and, I loved watching what Justine DuPont did and coming back to surfing because I think I had this idea that, for so long that, my career would be over after I had child. I can't talk today.
I was with child.
When I had child. Well, I cannot speak today. But, I know now that isn't the case. And I think sometimes I feel I have this doubt that I wouldn't be able to juggle it all. And because sometimes I get overwhelmed with my life as it is juggling all these different things. And, we've got so many exciting things going on. And then, but everything I've heard from my friends that have kids, they're like, you actually just do it. Something comes out of you. And that is what actually whenever I have that fear about not being able to handle it all, I just need to think, hey, that's just another reason and way to grow and, become a better version of myself in that way. I get to hang out with all of my friends' kids and I literally just adore them. And Jake's like, I just know that you're going to be at the park like all day. I adore all my like goddaughters and all my little kids in my life. So I love being an auntie now, but I think I'm getting pretty clucky.
What is it for you and Jake that's exciting about having kids? What are you looking forward to about being a mum and about having kids and about having a family together?
Oh, I just feel like it'd be the best adventure. And I think even now, everything I do is for my future and trying to set things up in a way that, without trying to plan too far ahead because you never know what could happen. It's not even, I'd love to have kids, but you just don't know, right? And I've had so many friends that have had fertility issues and I try not to plan things, but, eventually it wasn't the pressure of getting married as well. It was more just like being in your 30s, I think, and feeling like, if I wanted to go back to surfing, I probably should get going sooner. And then kind of thinking about it in that way. And then I've always been like not a planner. Someone's like, what's your 5-year plan? I'm like, it's my 5-hour plan. So it's like, and so I'm always, I just am such a go with the flow type person. Hence I book a flight to Fiji the next day. And I'm like, on the way back from Fiji, I was thinking, these really last minute trips to Fiji probably can't happen when you got a kid, but
you got a babysitter right up the road.
Exactly. You make it work. And I think what I've learnt from my friendship group that, so many of the women in my life are single mums and they're raising their daughters and they're raising, it's like you find that that village of support around you and make it work in that way. So, yeah, I'm not scared and I'm excited, and I think it'll just be the coolest thing ever to see.
Are you one of those
mini-me.
people that has a list of notes in your phone with potential baby names?
Oh, yeah. I've had a list of, I have the biggest list of baby names, and I also used to have a list of like tattoos I wanted to get. And it's funny because I was like,
Same.
yeah, and it's funny because I had tattoos and I was like, look, if that tattoo stays on the list for, maybe a year or two, then I'll get it because I'm not sick of it yet.
Yeah.
The idea of that tattoo, I reckon broccoli would have gone in a week. Chinese broccoli would have come up in a week, and that was a regret. But I always we'll see a name or something traveling, I chuck it in the baby list and then wake up a week later and I'm like, delete. No. And then I have these names that I've loved for a long time. So I definitely do it.
Okay, so this is a sweeter one. So the longer that you and Jake have been together and as your love's grown deeper, has the thought of having a little human that's half you and half Jake become more exciting?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think he's going to be like as a dad? I
think he'll be, we are so, I guess, just like chalk and cheese in so many ways. We're opposite. I'm the high energy, crazy, adrenaline junkie mum that's like probably going to be like taking my kid out and pushing it into waves when it's like 6 months old. Like
you'll be right.
At the park like all day, and I just know that he's going to be like reading books, and he's so soft and sweet and smart and funny, and I feel like he's just going to be such a sweet dad. I get excited. I even see it, and I remember one day seeing Jake, when we got Ziggy, and how he was treating Ziggy and how he was looking after him and how much he just loved him. And I just immediately was like, you're going to be the best dad.
I think that's a good sign when Jake's taken really good care of those dogs. You're like, wow, you're going to be a really good dad.
Totally.
If that's how much you love the dog, you're really going to love our kids.
Totally. Yeah, no, that makes me very excited. I think that made me the crazy thing is like, I feel like I always talk about dogs and, they're nothing like having kids. But I think it is an amazing stepping stone. It brings... It already felt like we made our little family when we got our dogs, and they're obviously like a commitment, and we're a little fam.
Cute.
So sorry Ziggy and Chili, but they're going to get a rude wake up call.
Yeah.
Because I have both my dogs sleep in the bed. I've got just Ziggy above my head and Chili like under my arm.
Holy, you're going to need to get a bigger bed. Do you have a king bed?
I've got a king now, but I reckon we're going to get 2 queens, push them together.
You did touch on this a little bit before, but you said that you've had a few friends who have struggled with fertility. Obviously, Chloe Fish has been quite open in her journey to getting pregnant. Has that been, obviously that would be so difficult for you to watch your friend go through that, but also has that sort of instilled any fear in you?
I think watching what she had to go through was absolutely like one of the most horrible things that you could ever see, feeling so helpless and wanting to uplift her and there's only so many times you can say it'll happen when it happens, and it's just... we all rallied together and we've learned so much about, I guess, female bodies and fertility and infertility from Chloe's experience. And, she battled for 4 years to fall pregnant and went through 8 rounds of IVF, had, I think, 4 losses and some twins as well at, I think, between 8 and 10 weeks, each of them. And so, she miscarried, and it was just so horrible. And just seeing, that excitement when she fell pregnant, and just like you start dreaming and planning and you're like, baby's coming here, and then you lose that baby. And it was so heartbreaking. And then 4 years later for her to naturally fall pregnant with little Bobby, it was just such a beautiful, it's just wild, because she kind of got to the point where she surrendered in a way, and she had meetings with the surrogates. Like she knew that her body would eventually be able to make a baby and birth a baby, and she dreamt of that her whole life, but then she surrendered and just thought, you know what, maybe I'm going to have to get a surrogate. They had the meetings. She sat down with this beautiful surrogate from up the coast, and they had all the plans ready to go. And when she went in to go to the IVF doctor in the clinic to, get her eggs to start the process of surrogacy, she found out she was pregnant naturally.
Amazing.
So it's just
so incredible.
It's just so, and that's when you do believe. She looks at it now and it's like, as hard as it was when I was in the trenches of infertility, it's like it just, she got her little baby in the end, and it was so beautiful. And she's the best, Bobby. But yeah, I think I didn't really answer your question then, but it definitely scares me. And I definitely saw that box that Flick had here.
So there's a box here. It arrived in the mail 2 days ago. It's from Fertility, and it tests your AMH levels.
Yeah,
and it's an egg count test that you do at home, right?
Amazing.
your egg
Because
reserve.
Chloe's always told me to go to the doctors and do that. And I feel like I've always been a little bit scared to go because, you don't, it's one of those things where you
Well, it's like, do you want to know? But then I think knowing gives you power. And especially us as athletes, not knowing, like, and you know how you kept saying you keep flip-flopping between the idea of wanting to, not wanting to, is now the right time, is it now not? And I saw this and I was like, I have to get it because I feel like I just want to know.
Totally.
Just to take some sort of control back.
Yes. And I think the idea of being able to do it at home and not have to go to the doctor and
so
stuff,
convenient.
it sounds way less daunting in a way. So I am going to get one of those.
Yeah, we'll order another couple and we'll...
We can't share, can we?
I'm also 32 and single. I need one of those tests.
We all need one.
Totally. And we've even had so many friends that are freezing their eggs, and I've even thought about that. I think that's a pretty massive process, but, I think I'll do that first and then see what happens. But, yeah.
Flicky, you're 32 years old and you've recently left a marriage. Was your biological clock of concern when you were making that decision to leave?
Completely. I just feel it was one of the biggest things when I left that relationship of, holy shit, I touched on it a little bit in the last episode, but I'm 32 years old and, you've invested this time into this relationship. Obviously, biologically, I'm not getting any younger. My eggs are getting older, maybe less, right? I'm sure, as I'm obviously getting older. And I did toy with the idea of like, wow, is this, like, are you throwing something away? Like, are you going to find someone again? Like, and also knowing the idea of even if you leave this relationship now, you don't just meet someone and then boom, have kids. There's like a timeline of progression of how that happens, I think... And just, but I was pretty scared about that, I think. And I still am. I'm still scared about that because I feel that there's certain things that need to happen in steps to actually, first I need to find someone, and then I need to, you don't just go bang, we're going to have a baby. I mean, some people do and power to them, but, I think you need to get to know the person first. Ideally, that would be good.
You'd like to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd probably be a pretty good idea,
That's a good idea.
Before just have some sense about you. So anyway. Also, what I wanted to touch on was when I left that marriage, I actually had come to the conclusion that I didn't want kids. I was like, the last year, I was like, no, it's not for me. And I didn't realise at the time, but it was the relationship itself that was making me not want kids because I couldn't see that person as the father of my children. And I just couldn't do it. And I was like, well, that's really weird for you to not want kids. And I was like, oh, okay, like maybe that's just not for me. And that's totally fine. And so many people go through life not wanting kids, and I totally respect that decision. But then once leaving, and, it's been 2 years now, I have realised that I really do want kids, obviously. So
You'd be the best mum.
Yeah. It's weird how your mindset can change and your perception depending on like what reality you're in and what environment you're in. It's pretty radical.
Flick, you've spoken on the podcast before about possibly having this genetic condition. Does that add a layer of complexity to your possible future plans to have a baby?
For sure. I think for anyone listening who doesn't know and they want to listen to that episode, I spoke about it in season 1, ep 2. It's my backstory. I dive into it, so give that one a little listen. But to skim over it pretty quickly, I think I just have a few different options, and it plays into my mind obviously a lot. I think it dictates everything I do in my life, like I spoke in that second episode we ever did. And obviously when it comes to kids, even more so, because I don't ever want my children to go through what I currently am, what my mum went through and what my granddad went through, and it goes on for generations. So I don't want that experience for anyone else, and it dictates my decision completely. I've got a few different options, I feel. Like option 1 is I find someone and, we have a baby naturally and the gene doesn't get passed on, which would be amazing. Option 2 is, an IVF process where you do PTG exclusion testing, and they're able to select only the embryos and put those ones in that don't carry the gene. Option 3, which I thought more heavily so about the other day, was just another thing that I've been thinking about is egg retrieval right now because obviously I'm getting older. And what made me think about that is I listened to the Happy Hour podcast with Lucy and Nikki, and Lucy goes into detail about her egg retrieval process. And that put the fear of God in me, which is weird because it wasn't in the way that Lucy delivered it, because Lucy was like pretty level-headed about it, like, and it wasn't the way she spoke about it. It was my own insecurities that were coming out big time. Like I came back from that and I had this serious conversation with Kiara where I was like, shit, like Lucy goes through from start to finish, her feelings, her emotions, the price of it all. And I was like, fuck, like, you know, obviously being able to be in a position to financially do that, like I realised, yep, privilege, but also like, fuck, big investment for me if I go do this. Like Kiara and I were seriously talking about it for like an hour. Like, what do I do? Like spun my wheels. And like, even if I was to go through that process, you know, half those that you can't genetic test an egg anyway. You can only genetic test embryos. So that means even like, you know, when it came to, you know, making an embryo, half of those embryos might even make it anyway. And then another half might not even have the gene. So then you're left with like hardly anything. It's this big investment. Anyway, so obviously a lot of head noise. And then secondly, another option would be, you know, Kiara and I spoke about it as well briefly. But, you know, if I got to a point where I didn't find someone or my eggs weren't great, Kiara said she would give me one of her eggs. So thanks for that.
No worries.
I think that's the biggest
have a
gift.
little brown baby.
Oh, and we can be related finally.
Oh my God, finally.
No.
I want that Parmentier name.
Oh, shit. So there's that. And then obviously, I guess, like, you know, there's obviously the option of adoption. Oh, wow, for you.
Good. Option of adoption.
Yeah,
Option of adoption, that's great.
You know, there's a lot of different avenues there, but ultimately I would love to find someone and have a baby. You know, naturally that would be the dream, and to carry it and to do all that. So we'll see what the future holds. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Kiara. Good questions.
Yeah,
And we've literally been chatting, yapping for ages now. So we're going to break this into 2 parts and come back, and Kiara's got some more questions for us. And yeah, we've also got some amazing guests that we're going to get on for the next episode. We're having they're actually going to be our first guests of the podcast.
They are.
I mean, Kiara's been our first guest, but then
She's a full-time. She's a producer.
Yeah, our employee guest. And you'll hear from her a lot. And yes, we've got. Well, I guess we won't fucking blow the surprise.
Yeah, we won't blow the surprise.
You're gonna have to wait till next week, eh?
Yeah, but thanks so much, guys, for listening. And yeah, part 2 coming your way.